Hi, everybody. I'm Gene Valicenti. Welcome to Coffee Time. I call it Coffee Milk, but if you're here, you know what the show is. Jason's going to go off the top with me because it's hot out there again today, Jason, really humid. So give us the latest on what we're looking at here for the rest of the day and the week ahead.
Yeah, that's right, Gene. No doubt that it is hot and humid today. We're back into the oven with regards to a heat advisory. Heat index values will be reaching the triple digits at some point this afternoon. But the big story is going to be the threat of tropical downpours, potentially leading to flash flooding across the region. That is why the National Weather Service this morning issued the flood watch for all of Rhode Island, all of Connecticut, and all of Southeast Massachusetts. This will be going into effect starting at 2 p.m. And that's when our window is more or less going to be opening for the downpours. And the Weather Prediction Center has also highlighted us, giving us a 15 to 40% chance of seeing excessive rainfall or seeing flash flooding occurring within 15 miles of any location highlighted here in yellow. Now, the big reason for all this is this surge in tropical moisture that is coming up the East Coast right now, kind of situating itself over southern New England. That will be with us through this evening, and that will basically just say the clouds will be able to hold so much moisture in them and so much water that when they ring out later on, they'll be able to drop as much as maybe 2.5 inches of rainfall per hour. And the issue could be those same downpours kind of lingering over the same location for an extended period of time. Now, the rain chances don't look anything too crazy, kind of peaking at a 50 or 60% chance. Now, the reason for that is because these downpours could be very, very localized. So just to kind of show you the setup that's going to be happening, there's going to be a line of downpours and thunderstorms that will basically be over the same exact location starting around 2 to 5 o'clock tonight, most likely. And then it'll start to transition right around 10, 11 o'clock or so into a little bit more of some light scattered rain showers. But we'll walk you through one more time and reset it a little bit slower. Notice when these start to develop around 2 o'clock or so, they're kind of in central down, extending through and into Fall River there. We go forward about another 2 hours, 3 hours over the same location, still potentially dropping 2+ inches of rainfall per hour. And then you go through the evening commute, that's still basically dumping over the same exact location. So that is going to be our big, big concern of that localized flooding leading to difficult travel with flooded roadways, especially as we head towards that evening commute with a lot of people being caught off guard coming back from our holiday weekend here. But just to give you a sense of the rainfall accumulation, I know this extends a little bit further out here, but you can see this area shaded in red. That's about 2.5 to 4 inches of rainfall. And then you can go just 10 miles further south and you're less than a half inch of rainfall. So it's going to be very, very localized where one town could see only 1/10 of an inch while the next town over could be dealing with 4 inches of rainfall by the end of the day. So that is the big concern. And then also, like you mentioned, Gene, the heat. We do have the heat advisory for all of Rhode Island and all of Southeast Massachusetts as well. That's going to be in effect until later on this evening. Our actual air temperatures before it even starts raining going to make their way into the 90s for most of us. But then when you factor in the humidity, heat index values of 100 plus. So there's a lot going on, safe to say, in the weather department. And we're going to try and break this a little bit more down coming up at noontime, but really important just to stay weather aware and be aware of that potential for those tropical downpours later on today.
All right, Jason, thanks. Well, I just wrapped up my radio show. There's still a lot of cleanup going on from the 3rd of July storm just before the 4th. You know, that weather came in from Connecticut and really walloped certain cities and towns. Warwick got it, Cranston got it. And now the mayor is out doing cleanup. Dan, let me know if you got Mayor Picozzi. He was out responding to our cameras. He said the streets are cleared, but he's got some debris to clean up. Let me know if you got that for us.
Not yet. Stand by.
All right. In the meantime, Governor McKee is fighting with Rhode Island Energy. He's not happy that the website that tells you about power outages, you know, the map that you could see, the map was out. So so not only do we have outages, we had trees down, and we had the map that tells you from Rhode Island Energy that was out. They admit that they had a screw up on their end, and the governor says, you know, you dropped the ball. We need that outage map to be up when we need it in an emergency, not during regular time. So we also caught up with Governor McKee talking about that. So the weather is still very much with us. Rhode Island Energy, the whole mess from the 3rd of July, and the cleanup still going on around the area. All right, in the meantime, listen, we got a pretty good story over here. A Warwick police captain happened to be passing a house fire in Cranston, and he jumped into action Saturday night. And you know what? He got the people out. and that's a good thing. Here's a look at what that house looked like when the Warwick police captain just happened to be driving through Cranston. This was Saturday night. He spotted the flames outside, pulled over, called 911, and they got to it. This is Major Todd Padalano with the Cranston Police Department talking about what happened over there with a fellow officer from Warwick. Made the day. Major.
If we use our imagination, we certainly can understand what he prevented. A beautiful family could have been turned upside down by this, but he was quick on his feet, 30 years experience. He knew just what to do.
Well, that's good. That's a good news story. Hey, another good news story. Out at the airport, the TSA is going to let you keep your shoes on when you go through security. Now, that's a big change, and you know how much of a pain that can be. You know, if you're wearing sneakers, you got to undo your sneakers and then find a place to sit down at the end of the line to put them back on. I think this really helped those slip-on shoes a lot. But in the meantime, TSA says we have better security, we have better machinery, and we don't need to examine your soles to see if you have explosives in your sneaker soles. So as of today, at many airports around the country, they're saying keep your shoes on. Now, this is not only for TSA pre, where you've always been able to keep your shoes on. This is during the regular line. Keep your shoes on. Now, John Perrick, our NBC 10 reporter, happened to catch a flight yesterday, and he said they waved them through. Keep your shoes on. So that's good news out at the airport, where we've got a crew today looking into this. Keep your shoes on at the airport. That whole era is over. And that goes back to post 9/11, when we had the shoe bomber tried to blow up an airplane with explosives that he smuggled into the soles of his shoes and sneakers. And after that, everybody had to take their shoes off. And you know what a pain in the neck that could be, because there's only one bench at the end, and everybody is looking for a place to put their shoes on, including older people. It's a tough thing. So that's really good news. And it comes just at the height of the summer travel season. So keep your shoes on at the TF Green. Now, you may notice some other airports you're passing through may not do this yet. They're rolling it out. The big airports go first, but apparently we're on the list, because John said he went through yesterday and you didn't have to take them off. All right. If you fly private, you don't have to worry about this, right? Keep your shoes on. And if you're a head of state coming in on an Israeli airliner, then you keep your shoes on and you rush over to the White House, where Prime Minister Netanyahu was last night, to meet with President Trump. And it happened to be quite the scene. He was invited over for dinner, and they had the dining room set up, and there were a bunch of people sitting around it when President Trump invited the press in to take some pictures, and the press wound up staying for an extended period of time. We've seen this before. Fire away. Ask any question you want. They asked Netanyahu, is the Iran-Israeli ceasefire holding? He hopes so. President Trump basically echoed the same thing. They also asked Prime Minister Netanyahu, are you worried about getting arrested in New York if Mamdani becomes the mayor? And he said, that's looking into the future. We don't know if he's going to become the mayor. And President Trump said, that's all right. He'll be with me and I'll protect him. So show me a little bit of that video if you have that. President Trump meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday.
Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a surprise. Apparently, President Trump says he was surprised that the Prime Minister has nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump has been hinting that he would like to get one of those. He says, I brokered peace between Rwanda and Congo, Iran and Israel, and I'm working on Ukraine and Russia, and I ought to get the Nobel Peace Prize. So Netanyahu seizes the moment and nominates him, and then gives him a copy of the letter. Warm him up a little bit. We know the British Prime Minister did that when he came in. He had a surprise and said, I have a surprise for you. The king has invited you to a second state dinner. Normally, heads of state only get one state dinner, but you're so special, you're going to get two state dinners. So maybe that'll be the pattern for heads of state coming in. Each one's got to top each other. But last night, I guess Netanyahu handed him the letter. You've been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Well, we'll see if the nominating committee goes along with it. But certainly, Netanyahu gets points for just trying, I guess. All right, that was the White House last night. That went on for quite some time. CDC says emergency room visits for tick bites are up, especially in the Northeast. Very high, 9 out of 10 on a certain scale they use. This is the Fordham Tick Index, 9 out of 10. That's not good. Ticks bring Lyme disease. Tick spring Lyme disease. Since we're in the animal kingdom, did you hear about the zebra that died at the Roger Williams Park Zoo? Apparently, the zebra was spooked by the storm, and it was in an enclosure and ran right into the front of the enclosure and died. Severe trauma to the zebra. So we're down one zebra in the zoo. Meantime, the penguins, the mayor tells us, are doing well in their new enclosure. You know, we spent $1 million on the penguin enclosure at Roger Williams Zoo. At least that was the city kicked in $1 million of their COVID relief fund. So now the penguins have a nice spot to hang out. The zebra is another story. Zebras, as you know, aren't native to Providence. And in the wild, if they sense wild weather, they'll just do what they do naturally, go seek shelter. But I guess it's a little different when you're in an enclosure in a zoo in a city, and the zebra is not with us anymore because of that. So maybe the zoo will have something more to say about that on their Facebook page. Roger Williams Zoo says they're heartbroken over the news of the zebra. So,
Gene, while we're still talking about the storms, I was able
Yeah.
to get Mayor Picozzi for you here.
now, you know, I was communicating with Mayor Hopkins the night of the storm in Cranston. He was running around. There was a lot of damage over at the end of 37 on the left there as you make your way up in the western Cranston. And Mayor Picozzi's been doing the same thing for the past few days, trees and everything else around Warwick. Go ahead and play that.
Roads are open. So now it comes down to, it's probably going to take a couple of weeks. Residents are putting out what fell in their yards, and we're going to tackle the smaller yards, but it's still going to take at least 2 weeks to clean up after this.
All right, that's Mayor Picozzi. Look, the weather's behind us, and we just got the fresh forecast, so we're looking ahead here. Today is Amazon Prime Day. If you need more stuff you don't need, go there, Amazon Prime. You know, they always cut the prices on stuff. I was looking at a lot of electronics. They're really looking to move electronics. I guess Bezos has to pay for the wedding, so that he's looking to unload all the stuff he's got on the boats. With regard to the tariffs, the president has extended reciprocal tariffs, supposed to kick in Wednesday. He's extended them till August 1st. His critics say that's taco. Trump always caves. Trump says, I'm not caving. I'm just giving these countries a couple more weeks to get their act together, but then I'm going to drop the hammer. And he's going to start with Japan and South Korea, maybe 30, 40% tariffs on those two countries if they don't come around to the way he likes. We told you he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. We told you Netanyahu is in town. We also want to tell you that the IRS has relaxed the rules to allow nonprofits like churches and religious organizations to endorse political candidates. Sometimes they do that subtly from the podium or from the pulpit, but now they're allowed to do it. So see if your pastor from the church is going to tell you who to vote for, at least overtly, not so subtly anymore. Mamdani is the man of the hour in New York City. He is the socialist, democratic socialist. Trump calls him a communist who wants to be the next mayor. He came out of the Democratic primary ahead of the pack. He could very well win the general, although they're really lining up against him, and he's making enemies by the day. Now he's got the Italians angry. And the New York Post reports that Mamdani has offended Italians with an old tweet saying that Christopher Columbus ought to be taken down while he gives the statue the middle finger. He's got bodega owners on his back because he wants to come up with city-owned grocery stores that would provide for subsidized cheaper prices, and the bodega owners don't want that. He's got them on his back. He's also got a controversy going over his application to attend Columbia University when he was a student many years ago. He checked the box that said he was Black/African American. He's not. He's of Indian descent. He also checked Southeast Asian on that, or South Asia. And now Mayor Eric Adams, who's going to face off against him in the general election, says he's another phony and that he's not African American, and that the African American community ought to be offended at that. In the meantime, the former governor down there, Patterson, says there's too many candidates running against Mamdani. There are three of them: Cuomo, Sliwa, and Eric Adams. And he says among the three of them, you better decide who's going to be the strongest, and the other two ought to drop out. Otherwise, Mamdani is going to be the next mayor. President Trump says, well, mayor or not, he's still going to have to deal with me in the White House, and he better behave. The Epstein story is also making big news today. It wasn't that long ago that the Attorney General said she had the list of the Epstein victims on her desk. Turns out there's no list. That's what they're saying now. There's no list. There never was a list. What about all the video that she said she'd poured over? No video to release either. So the Epstein story is going cold. And that's not sitting well with a lot of people who were expecting more out of the Epstein story. But right now, you're not going to get anything. Meantime, the flood cleanup continues in Texas. That video is absolutely unbelievable of the Texas floods. Close to 100 people now counted dead. Many of them were campers, young kids in those camps. There's a back and forth now over whether or not DOGE cuts impacted this. The Associated Press has pretty much put that to bed, saying actually at the time of the storm, the National Weather Service office in San Antonio, which covers that area, was staffed twice as much as it would ordinarily be. They were staffed up extra for that particular storm. So that may put that debate to rest, at least for a little while. In Providence, we're going to raise your taxes just under 6%. The city council decided in conjunction with the mayor, they say they've agreed on this. It's not going to be 8%. They've got permission to do that from the state. It's going to be just under 6% because they're on the hook to fund the schools more. In East Greenwich, the governor and the speaker cut a ribbon yesterday on a housing complex, affordable housing, low-income housing. It's just off of Frenchtown Road, just before you get to Route 4. The Speaker of the House thinks it's great, so does the governor, and so does the town council in East Greenwich. But if you read the Speaker's Twitter feed or the governor's Twitter feed, not everybody thinks it's great, and some people think it's just going to ruin the town. So an affordable housing complex, low-income housing, is always controversial, no matter where you want to put it. In Johnston, they're fighting it tooth and nail. Certain beachside communities don't want it. East Greenwich got it, and that's the story. They cut the ribbon on it yesterday. All right, listen, that's a little bit of what's going on today. Make sure you check out my radio show for more information every morning, and I'll see you on the news tonight, NBC 10 at 6. And next time I do this, if I do it tomorrow, I'll show you the flags that I bought for the 4th of July week. I like to buy local flags every year for 4th of July, and I'll share them with you on the next Coffee Milk / Coffee Time. For now, I'm Gene Valicenti. I'll see you on the news, NBC 10 at 6, and on the radio on WPRO Week.